Have you ever wondered what it feels like to steer a battered old racer through fields of flying metal and twisted debris, knowing that every second could send your car hurtling into total devastation? That's the promise Wreckfest 2 makes at first glance, and it's got a lot of players convinced that it's about to deliver the most intense, high-impact racing experience yet. But just beneath the roar of engines and the screech of tires, questions swirl. Is Wreckfest 2 truly an evolution of the demolition racer formula? Or is it sputtering under the weight of buggy code and unfinished ideas? People who followed the developer, Bugbear, since the early 2000s had sky-high expectations even before the first Wreckfest 2 trailer rolled out. After all, Bugbear's resume includes the original FlatOut and the first Wreckfest, both of which set new standards in car-crunching spectacle. Fans wanted bigger stunts, deeper physics, and of course plenty of earth-shaking crashes. At a glance, it looks like Wreckfest 2 is answering that call with vivid track designs and robust damage modeling. However, early access can be a double-edged sword. While it gives hardcore players a sneak peek, it can also reveal issues that cast doubt on how or if this sequel will cross the finish line in one piece. Welcome to Gamers Service Announcement. GSA. The more you know. Click that subscribe button and hit on the alert button to get notified about new videos for you. Bugbear's story started long before the Wreckfest series became a household name among demolition racing enthusiasts. Going back to the success of the original FlatOut in 2004, these developers gained a reputation for combining chaotic physics with surprisingly solid racing mechanics. Instead of simply dodging obstacles, players found themselves flinging their ragdoll drivers through windshields or smashing entire barns to pieces. That formula was both wild and addictive, earning Bugbear a loyal following. Over time, though, the company took a few creative detours. Not every game landed perfectly, and fans began to realize that for every thrilling new feature, there might be a frustrating glitch or an awkward design choice. Even so, the seeds of a truly next-level racing experience were planted, culminating in the first Wreckfest. When Wreckfest arrived, it quickly broke away from being just another FlatOut successor. The game's dynamic damage model and unflinching approach to metal-mashing chaos propelled it to cult favorite status. With Wreckfest 2, Bugbear promised something more. Not just better graphics and new cars, but a deeper simulation of vehicle damage, a more destructible environment, and the most belligerent AI the series has ever seen. Early teasers hinted that everything fans loved about the first game would be dialed up. Bigger stunts, more random objects to smash into, and a creative range of locations that make even the tamest Sunday driver sweat. But as soon as early access went live, players realized there was more to the story than shiny new racetracks and post-apocalyptic junkyards. Right from its early access debut, Wreckfest 2 brought a mix of excitement and dread. On one hand, there was an unmistakable buzz. After seeing the dynamic crash physics in trailers, fans were eager to test them out firsthand. On the other, some questioned whether the game had launched too soon. The surprising number of bugs, random crashes to desktop, and limited content sparked rumors that perhaps this release was rushed. After all, early access can mean different things. Sometimes it's a polished slice of a bigger project, and other times it's more like a bare-bones alpha. Bugbear's earlier crowdfunding attempts, including a failed Kickstarter in the past, had already made fans cautious. Wreckfest 2 promised to learn from that experience, but doubt lingers. Hardcore followers wondered if the game's new direction was overshadowing lessons learned from the first Wreckfest's early access days. Speculation ran wild. Was the developer aiming to slowly trickle content in? Or were they actually behind schedule due to behind-the-scenes complications? The rumor mill grew even louder with talk of possibly reintroducing caravan races, outrageous stunt modes, and expansions so big they might put the original Wreckfest to shame. Many fans, however, had been burned before. They contributed to Kickstarter campaigns for spiritual successors to beloved games, only to see them collapse. While Wreckfest 2 had not repeated those exact mistakes, the memory of that confusion fed directly into ongoing skepticism. People asked, are we going to see half-realized features vanish before the final release? In developer forums and social media circles, the same question kept popping up. Is Wreckfest 2 just another bold promise? Or does it have the staying power to deliver a fully fleshed out demolition derby experience? Once the initial hype faded, a stark reality emerged. The game's physics engine might be top-notch, but many players found themselves dealing with a different kind of crash, the dreaded crash to desktop. From abrupt lockups in the middle of high-speed races to mysterious error messages that popped up when loading certain tracks, these technical issues started overshadowing the fun. Within days, community forums lit up with memes about how Wreckfest 2 wants to wreck your desktop more than your car. Some players posted short video clips showing the chaos. One moment, they'd be drifting around a corner, tires screeching, metal grinding, crowds roaring. The next, everything froze, and they were staring at their desktop. A wave of refund requests began trickling in, not because people hated the concept, but because they couldn't even enjoy it without risking system crashes. Bugbear responded by acknowledging the problem and rolling out hotfixes aimed at stabilizing certain areas of the game. In a handful of cases, these patches worked wonders, eliminating the errors some players had been facing. But for others, the crashes remained elusive, popping up with no clear trigger. Some suspected the game's advanced physics calculations were overwhelming certain hardware configurations, while others pointed to memory leaks. The official word from Bugbear was that they were investigating and would continue to release patches throughout early access. Despite the frustrations, a core group of adrenaline junkies held on. They insisted that once you got a stable session going, Wreckfest 2 offered moments of demolition bliss that no other racer could replicate. For them, the fix was simple. Lower your settings, brace for potential errors, and hope for the best. It wasn't an ideal solution, but the thrill of hearing twisted metal and feeling the raw power of a multi-car collision was enough to keep them hooked. For many players, all those technical nightmares fade into the background once the engine roars to life. Bugbear's specialty has always been capturing the adrenaline-charged essence of smashing 2 tons of steel into anything that moves, or doesn't move for that matter. Wreckfest 2 turns that dial up significantly. The engine audio alone is a symphony of rumbling cylinders, squealing belts, and metallic groans, layered together to make you feel every loose nut and bolt. Part of the allure is how the physics system has become more intricate. It's not just about watching your hood flap in the wind or seeing sparks when you scrape a wall. Now you can blow a tire clean off the rim if you take a corner wrong, or watch your engine degrade over time if your radiator gets smashed at the start of a race. The game displays subtle hints of damage, from black smoke pouring out of a compromised engine to the ominous squeal when your suspension is about to give out. Where the first Wreckfest impressed fans with its robust damage modeling, Wreckfest 2 adds depth in ways that are almost unsettling. Loose tires can bounce across the track, taking out unsuspecting drivers. Towering piles of salvage, individual car shells stacked like a precarious pyramid, can be toppled by a single poorly aimed nudge. It feels like the entire track is rigged to collapse in a chain reaction, and the fact that it often does only adds to the spectacle. Those wild collisions wouldn't feel half as thrilling without properly aggressive AI. Here, the CPU drivers don't just block your path, they swerve, spin, and sometimes actively try to slam you into the nearest wall. In many modern racing titles, AI cars follow near-perfect racing lines, occasionally misjudging a corner. In Wreckfest 2, they drive like rabid beasts fighting tooth and nail for first place. It's not uncommon to see 4 or 5 wrecked shells littering the course after the first lap. While some might call it unfair, others argue it's precisely what a demolition racer should be. No mercy, no illusions of safety, and definitely no invisible walls to keep you out of trouble. Yet for all its smash-em-up intensity, Wreckfest 2 has a different problem that's just as noticeable as its technical issues: a shortage of things to actually do. Currently, there are only a few available environments, each with a small number of track variations. The locations themselves are visually captivating: junkyards with mountains of salvage, stunt arenas with loops and ramps that'll have your car barrel rolling through the air. But the novelty wears off when you realize how few options you have. Likewise, the car roster at this stage is minimal. Only 4 drivable cars have made the cut, leaving many fans scratching their heads. Previous Bugbear titles eventually featured more variety, from muscle cars to classic jalopies to even bizarre add-ons like lawnmowers or buses. This time, everyone's asking, where are the caravans? Where are the borderline ridiculous vehicles that used to make Wreckfest so much fun? Some optimists suggest that Bugbear is playing the long game, rolling out content piecemeal to polish each edition. Others aren't so sure. There's a fear that development might be moving at a snail's pace, or worse, that some features promised in developer Q&As might never see the light of day. The question then becomes, how long can the existing player base entertain themselves with only a handful of cars and tracks? Even those who've stuck around mention how quickly the basic race modes get old. Traditional racing and standard destruction derbies are fun, but in the original Wreckfest, there were more ways to get creative, like specialized challenges and unique track types. Right now, Wreckfest 2 just isn't delivering that breadth of chaos. So, while the core driving feels fantastic, you run out of new scenarios to test your skills in fairly fast. Despite the rough edges, glimpses of Wreckfest 2's potential shine through in every twisted wreckage and every hair-raising drift around a corner. People who lived and breathed the original Wreckfest remember how that game's early access also began with limited features. Over time, consistent updates transformed it into a beloved staple, featuring new cars, new tracks, and a robust progression system that let you tweak your rides to your heart's content. Bugbear has a history of turning undercooked beginnings into polished experiences, given enough time. The developer has hinted at an eventual career mode that may include deeper engine tuning, customization, and perhaps even more elaborate destruction events. Although these features are mostly rumor at this stage, they've been teased in official forums and scattered tidbits of dev commentary. Some talk of a brand new upgrade system that surpasses the original, letting you piece together the ultimate rust bucket or transform a simple economy car into a death-dealing monster on 4 wheels. Fans also speculate about the potential return of caravans, an iconic highlight from FlatOut or earlier demolition racers, where towing a trailer behind your car adds a whole new dimension of chaos. If you imagine a stunt arena where your caravan can detach mid-jump, flipping end over end and wiping out half the track, you can see why so many players crave this addition. But so far, the only official word is that the devs hear the community's requests, which is developer speak for maybe someday. Another area that has players buzzing is the possibility of advanced online modes. Although the first Wreckfest had serviceable multiplayer, some fans are dreaming of a more ambitious online ecosystem this time around. Maybe something with persistent leagues, daily tournaments, or themed events that rotate weekly. Building that level of depth in an early access environment takes time, but it could be the ace up Bugbear's sleeve if they manage to pull it off. As more updates roll out, there's a sense that Bugbear is navigating a delicate balance. On one side, they have an incredible foundation of bone-rattling physics, ear-splitting audio, and AI that fights like a pack of wild dogs. On the other, they're grappling with crash-to-desktop issues, missing features, limited content, and the watchful eyes of a community that's tired of being sold on potential. For some, the heartbreak comes from seeing an amazing concept hindered by typical early access pitfalls. They see a game that could easily become the definitive demolition racer, a beacon for fans of mind-blowing carnage, if only it had a bit more time in the oven and a steadier stream of content updates. Others remain skeptical. They wonder if the final version will ever feel truly complete, or if Wreckfest 2 will join the ranks of games that linger in early access for ages without significant transformation. Still, the developer's track record offers a glimmer of hope. The original Wreckfest took shape slowly, building from a bare-bones demo to a fully featured game that left a lasting imprint. Each major update introduced new ways to wreck your car and crush your rivals. If history is any guide, Wreckfest 2 could follow a similar arc, eventually layering in expansions that overshadow any early missteps. But until that actually happens, it's all guesswork. For now, a significant part of the final product's future may hinge on player feedback. Bugbear is known to scour forums, social media, and in-game data to tweak physics, fix bugs, and add popular requests. If the community stays vocal and invests in shaping the direction, we might see those caravans, new destruction modes, and more complex progression. It's even possible that Wreckfest 2 could introduce entirely new features that no one's predicted, like weather-based destructibility or multi-tiered stunt events. If you strip away the crashes, the shortage of tracks, and the small car list, you're left with a foundation that feels raw yet undeniably exciting. The intensity of smashing through salvage heaps or narrowly avoiding a pileup, only to see your car's hood crumple under the weight of another competitor's fender, offers a rush you can't find in ordinary racers. Wreckfest 2 might be the next evolution of high-impact racing, but it's also dealing with the typical stumbles of early access. What remains to be seen is how, or if, Bugbear can fully harness the community's enthusiasm to shape the final product. With enough careful updates, thoughtful expansions, and consistent communication, this sequel could eventually overshadow the original. Then again, it could just as easily fizzle out, leaving players with glimpses of greatness buried beneath half-implemented ideas. Ultimately, the potential for Wreckfest 2 to break free from early access purgatory rests on 2 main factors: the developer's commitment and the fans' patience. If you're the type of person who craves real-time destruction and can handle a few unpredictable crashes on your screen, not just on the track, it might be worth jumping on board to see how this unfolds. If you'd rather wait for a more polished, content-rich experience, you might want to watch from the sidelines until Bugbear proves they can deliver. So will Wreckfest 2 become the gold standard for demolition racers, or will it stall out in the pits of incomplete ambition? Let's hear what you think. Are these roadblocks worth it for the chance to witness the ultimate in metal mangling mayhem? Or does the thought of repeated desktop crashes and slim content make you want to slam on the brakes? Let me know where you stand and what you believe is coming next for this chaotic, captivating sequel. In the meantime, buckle up, because when Wreckfest 2 finally revs its engine at full power, it just might flatten all the competition. If you like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that alert button for more awesome videos. Gamers Service announcement: the more you know.